Hello and welcome. This is the Zen community of Oregon, making the teachings of the Buddha Dharma accessible to support your practice. New episodes air every week.
Take refuge in the Buddha, take refuge in the Dharma, take refuge in the Sangha. This is the last night we're going to be talking about the Mangala Sutta. And some people here haven't even heard the beginning of it, but I've gone through every stanza of the sutra for the last 3-4 weeks, months, something like that. So to make sure that we're all up to speed, let's go ahead and read the Mangala Sutta together. We don't need to chant it with the Mukugyo, but let's read it. And Ankatsi, where's my chant book I gave you? So again, this is a sutra from the Pali Canon. I think it comes from the Udantra. I'm not sure which maybe it comes from the Kunda Nikaya.
Page 89.
But it's part of the Pali Canon. It's not part of the Digha Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya. It's part of the Kunda Nikaya, I think. Okay, let's just read this together. Thus have I heard that the Blessed One was staying at Savatthi, residing at the Jeta's Grove in Anatha Pindika's park. Then, in the dark of the night, a radiant Deva illuminated all Jeta's Grove. She bowed down low before the Blessed One. Then, standing to one side, she said, "Devas are concerned for our happiness and ever long for peace. The same is true for humankind. What then are the highest blessings? Avoiding those of foolish ways, associating with the wise, and honoring those worthy of honor. These are the highest blessings. Living in places of suitable kinds with the fruits of past good deeds, and guided by the rightful way. These are the highest blessings. Accomplishing learning and craftsman skills with discipline highly trained, and speech that is true and pleasant to hear. These are the highest blessings. Providing for mother and father's support, and cherishing family, ways of work that harm no being. These are the highest blessings. In the heart, offering to relatives and friends, acting in ways that leave no blame. These are the highest blessings. Steadfast in restraint and shunning evil ways, avoiding intoxicants that dull the mind, heedfulness in all that arises. These are the highest blessings. Gratefulness and humble ways, contentment and gratitude, and hearing the Dhamma frequently taught. These are the highest blessings. Patience and willingness to accept our faults, being venerated seekers of the truth, and sharing the words of the Dhamma. These are the highest blessings. A holy life lived with ardent effort, seeing for himself the noble truth, the realization of nirvana. These are the highest blessings. Although involved in worldly ways, unshaken the mind remains, beyond all sorrow, spotless, secure. These are the highest blessings. They who live by polishing this thought know victory wherever they go, and every place within is safe. These are the highest blessings. Great. So we've gone through the whole list and talked about it, and anybody with a Raksu is happy to discuss it with you. Whatever the mind discusses, whatever we talk about, whatever we think about over and over, that's where the mind inclines, and that's what becomes true. So I talk to people at the monastery. I say, look, if you're spending your time talking about hiking on the Appalachian Trail, sooner or later you're going to be hiking on the Appalachian Trail. if you spend your time talking about awakening and suffering and liberation, then that becomes the nature of your experience. So whatever the mind inclines to becomes real. So we just have to watch. What's our mind inclining to? How are we occupying ourselves? If we're occupying ourselves with is food and drink, well, become a chef. Make sure that what you're talking about is in line with your heart. Because if they're two different things, then you're just in conflict all the time. So if this is important, if liberation is important, talk about it. Talk about these things. So Mangala Sutta gives us all these different talking points that are, I think, very helpful. But then it gets down to this very end. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I think I talked about the second to last paragraph last week, but we're going to talk about the last paragraph as well tonight. And that last paragraph is actually a pretty exciting and challenging one. So, second to the last, although involved in worldly ways, unshaken the mind remains. Beyond all sorrow, spotless, secure, these are the highest blessings. This is the highest blessing. So, this is about, everything in here is about practice. It's about state of mind. It's about something that we can taste and know. So when we're practicing, we come in here, we sit down, we stabilize our body. We say, okay, let me kind of get this wiggly thing in one place. We feel the body with the body, feel the breath with the breath. There's no other way to feel it, actually. You can't feel the breath with the mind. You can only feel the breath with the breath. You can't feel your hands with your head. You can only feel them with your hands. Check it out. You can only feel your hands with your hands. It's obvious. You can only feel your feet with your feet. You can't feel anything with your mind. You can think with your mind, but if you actually look at your direct experience, we come in and we learn, oh, okay, I learned to feel my body with my body while I'm in my body. And that's absolutely excellent foundation of practice. And hopefully we teach people about breath, teach people about the nature of mind and thought, and we all begin to rest in what is so obviously true. We can only feel the breath with the breath. Right? You can only feel your legs with your legs. You can't feel them in your head. You can only feel them in your legs with your legs. Hands in the hands with the hands. Right? Right? No? Go for it.
I think you feel it with your nose. I think you feel the breath with your nose.
Okay, great. Great. You feel the nose with your nose, and you feel the breath moving through your nose with your nose. Great. You've got to be careful with Olivia around. You've got to make sure she'll catch you. Great. Keep it up. Okay. So we come in, and at some point we begin to turn the mind in and realize wherever we go, whether we're at morning, noon, or night, whether we're here or whether we're at the East Coast or in Europe, wherever we go, there we are. Wherever we go, there is something. You say, oh, right here I am. Right? And it doesn't matter whether you're in California or Texas or South America. If you look, you say, oh, yeah, here I am. Now, your environment will change. You may have different thoughts. You may be hot or you may be cold. You may be sweaty. You may be old. You may be all kinds of different things. But that sense of, yep, here I am. So another phase of practice is we have to recognize that there is an experience, a visceral experience, a direct knowing of, oh, I'm always here. I'm always present. I'm always present. Now, if we look again, this is not an idea. This is a direct knowing. And the thing I've been actually asking some people today is if you close your eyes and you look inside and you say, how old do I feel? How old do I feel inside? Not how old is my fingernails. How old do I feel inside? What do you see? What do you feel? What's your answer? That piece is not rhetorical. Ageless? 8? 8? Am I missing the boat here? Does people not have... Well, this moment. How old do you feel in this moment? Well, there's no, the ageless, timeless. Some people say, I feel, I'm an 76-year-old guy, and I look inside and I feel, gee, I feel fairly vital. I feel like I'm, a very vital 50-year-old, which seems young to me and old to some other people. Boy, if I was just a vital 50-year-old again, I would have so much juice. I remember when I was 30, I thought 50 was almost dead. But, now that I'm 80, it looks different. So we have to discover this direct experience. There's an ageless, timeless, part of ourselves. We all know that. We can look inside and say, how old do I really feel? Am I really present? Is there something present here? There's no upstairs, downstairs, in an airplane, wherever you are. If you look inside and you say, yes, I'm present. Now, you can't put your finger on it. You can't say, oh, it's located in my big toe. You can't put it in a box. You can't sell it. But it's a direct experiential awareness. Okay? Now this is for most people, I think, oh yeah, I've heard this 1,000 times. Yes. We have to keep reifying it. So that's the place we come in, and once we begin to actually recognize that, it's not a matter of making something happen, it's a matter of recognizing. Once we recognize that, then, the mind remains unshaken. We're in Russia, we're in Africa, we're in Alaska. That which is always present is just always present. That which sees change is unchanging. That which identifies agitation is not agitated. That's just an experience of turning the mind from the outward stuff into direct experience. Right? And this is not mysterious. It's just experience. Everybody can taste that. So tasting that, and that's what this sutra is talking about. When we taste that, first it's often just a taste, and a taste means I know it's true based on my own experience, instead of I know it's true because I read it in a book and it makes a lot of sense to me and I'm really a smart person and so I get the idea of this very quickly. When we know it's true based upon our own visceral experience, then the next part of practice is we begin to anchor there. People are giving me a hard time, I can anchor there. I'm driving in the highway, I can anchor there. If you're actually driving in the highway with this practice, you see you're sitting still just kind of bouncing around, everything else is moving. When you're driving, you're sitting still. The whole world is unshaken, the mind remains. When we actually begin to recognize that, that's all it's talking about. Beyond all sorrow, spotless, secure. They just did some of you were there at the Grasses and Trees retreat. It's the retreat in August where everything is outside. So all the talks are outside, people are meditating outside, people sleep outside, it's just outside. And so people become, they in the earth, they in the sky, they in the trees. There's no separation between those. And if you out there sitting in the grass, or you look here at this floor, does the floor have a problem? The wood came from the 1800s. This place was built in 1871. When we moved in here a few years ago, 15 so years ago, we took the whole thing up. We had it all cleaned up. We had it all kind of sanded off. We replaced the original flooring here. We had to get a little supplement because some of it got broken up. But this floor came from the 1800s. It's old, but does it have a problem? Does the ground have a problem? Does the earth have a problem? Does the sky have a problem? Does space have a problem? When we begin to recognize, the nature of experience without the problem-making mind, without the mind that comes in and says, wrong, 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 it should be different, without the mind that is arguing with reality, we find there's a place right there in our own direct experience. It's actually kind of easy. And it's uninterruptible. I think that's one of the things I look for when people are maturing in practices. Are they able to find the uninterruptible place that's still responsive, still alive, but fundamentally there's a stability, an equanimity there because they know this level of experience. And then we've brought our attention back to it over and over again so that it's familiar to us. So it's not something we saw once in a retreat or walking in the woods, months or years ago. It's something we can actually touch right now. Right now. And that's all it's pointing to. It's nothing particularly esoteric, although involved in worldly ways. So practice, there are many ways of practice. The classic way of practice is you go in, you renounce, you let go, you hone things down so that you can see what's left. It's really important that we all have a phase of life. And sometimes when you're old, life does it all by itself. Just everything takes it away from you. Or you get into a car accident, or you have an injury, or you have a bankruptcy and suddenly it's all gone. It's important that we have a phase like that where we really recognize, even if it's all gone, I'm still here, I'm still alive, I still have the timeless awareness. As we practice though, we can't have that be separate from our lives. So the next stage of practice would begin taking on duties, taking on responsibilities, taking on, all the challenges, the whole catastrophe, as Kazensaka says, whole catastrophe of a human life. Once we have this foundation, the whole catastrophe of the human life, it's just fruitful practice. It's just a way of engaging, a way of practicing. But then, if we keep practicing more, it becomes a way of expressing. It becomes the very things that challenged us, that gave us the fuel to practice with. Now those very things become a way of, I can meet them, I can turn them, I can do Aikido with them, I can use those very difficult conditions to offer the Dharma, to help others. So the Dharma does not require, certainly the way we teach it here, does not require you have to go and live as a hermit in a cave, and then you'll be enlightened, and then you will be free of suffering. But rather, it is important to have periods where you renounce, you go to sesshin, you go to a retreat, you let go, you let go, you let go, you let go, you let go. Take a deep breath, and then you say, the whole catastrophe, bring it on. Bring it on. And the sign of that is you take responsibilities. So people who take service positions here, they become Dharma teachers, they take on classes, or they do plant trees, or whatever they do in their life. That the function of wisdom is the function, the activity of compassion. So if we haven't cultivated this core, then the activity of compassion just becomes doing, be good, get people like me. But when we actually see, there's a place in me that's stable, that's calm, that's present, then the activity becomes the activity of the Dharma, the activity of our life. Spotless. Beyond all sorrow. Doesn't mean you don't have to feel sorrow. So that's all that paragraph is pointing to. Again, it's about an experience, experiences that come with practice, and practice has two parts to it. It has calm abiding, and it has insight. Stabilizing, calming, being with the breath, and being curious, really being inquiring. Don't take anybody else's answer. Sometimes other people's answers can give you guidance and help you along the path, but fundamentally, it is your own inquiry into the nature of your own mind. That's what captivates the heart. So now we come to the last paragraph here, which is the culmination of this whole teaching we just did. They who live by following this path know victory wherever they go, and every place for them is safe. These are the highest blessings. This is the highest blessing. They who live by following this path. What does that mean?
Thank you for listening to the Zen Community of Oregon podcast, and thank you for your practice. New episodes air every week. Please consider making a donation at zendust.org. Your support supports us.